Hello and welcome back to the certificate course in vocabulary building. This is Unit 1 Introduction to Vocabulary Part 3 Word Classes. In this lesson, we will examine the following. I have classified this into 3 different categories there. First, we will look at classification of words. Then you have content and structure words. And then you have open and closed word classes. So the main focus here will be open and closed word classes. So in order to understand open and closed word classes, I have included content and structure words. So let's begin. So this is the first part, classifying words, okay? When we begin to study something unknown, one of the ways that we try to make sense of it is by grouping or classifying the different phenomena that we encounter. The same was true when people first started thinking about languages. They looked at the basic units, that is, the words, and tried to find ways of putting them into groups. So let's try and understand how these groups were formed. I want you to look at the following sentences here. Flowers bloom, dogs bark, Clara sang, stars twinkle. So when going through various sentences in the English language, you may have noticed that certain words behave in similar ways. Now, in these sentences, the words flowers, dogs, Clara, and stars, they all serve the same purpose. Their function or use is to name objects, naming. And what about the other words here? Bloom, sang, bark, twinkle. What do they do? So these words have their own special work to do. They all perform the same function. And what is that? They tell us something about flowers, dogs, Clara, and stars. So you have words that name and the other words that tell you about those, those objects. So naming the objects and describing the objects. So on the basis of their function or use, the words in the English language are classified into different groups called word classes, also known as parts of speech. There are 8 word classes. Nouns, these are the word classes, 8 word classes. You have noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. So these 8 word classes are divided into 2 types. Okay, 2 types. Open and closed word classes. So now that you've understood these these 8 word classes, let's move on to what open and closed word classes are. All right. But before we go to open and closed word classes, I want you to understand. Let's have a look at what are content and function words. So this will, help you better, help you to understand better the open and closed word classes. Okay. So let us have a look at content and structure words. Content words. They are also called as lexical words. So what are content or lexical words? Most of the words in any dictionary are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. The first 4 of the 8, these are the major classes. They are also known as content or lexical words, and they form the 4 major word classes in English. There are hundreds and thousands of these vocabulary words, and they allow us to talk about a wide variety of subjects. So these are content or lexical words. Let us have a look at function or structure words. Okay. They can either be called function words or structure words. So the other words in the dictionary, other than, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, the other words in the dictionary are pronouns, prepositions, articles, conjunctions. So these are known as function or structure words because they show relationships among vocabulary words. So the previous words that you had, they were lexical words or vocabulary words, and these are structure words. They show relationship. So for example, when we say the capture of the murderer, the word of here, right? OF, the capture of the murderer. So the word of does not have any content meaning. Okay, they do not add to the meaning as such. It only shows that the following noun, that is the word murderer, murderer is the noun there. So the following noun can be considered the object of capture. So you have the capture of the murderer. Okay, so function words allow us to construct an enormous variety of sentence patterns. So this was about content and so function words allow us to construct an enormous variety of sentence patterns. So this was about content and function words. Now let us try to understand what are open and closed word categories. So you have the closed word categories. Let us look at closed word categories first. So closed word categories refer to the category of function words. Right? We already looked at what are function words, what are vocabulary or lexical words, what are content words, right? So closed word categories refer to the category of function words that don't readily accept new members. So this category includes pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, and articles. For example, the words of, but, the, etc. belong to closed category. Right? Once we look at what is open class category, you will understand this better. Okay. So notice that when I told you about closed classes, I use the words they don't readily accept, right? Readily. So this is because it is not entirely true to say that the closed classes do not admit new members. They do admit new members, but the process is very and it is very slower or much slower than how than the process wherein you have vocabulary words being added in the open class. Now let us look at what is open class. So you have, in contrast to closed word classes, you have open word classes. Now in open word classes refer to the category of content words that readily accept new members. Okay, so this category includes nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. The open class is considered open because it is open to new members of words. When new words get added to the language, they are almost always either nouns, adjectives, verbs, or adverbs. I mentioned that verbs belong to the open word class, but not all verbs belong to this class. You have, even among verbs, you have different types. Like you have the main verbs, which belong to the open class, but the auxiliary verbs belong to closed class. The auxiliary verbs like be, do, have, can, shall, will, these are auxiliary verbs and they belong to the closed class. Okay. So the words belonging to the open classes are extremely large in number, and about 90% of the words in our personal vocabularies belong to this class because these are the words that actually, add meaning to whatever you are trying to convey or describe. Okay. Now, in this course, we will focus only on the open word classes that include content or lexical words. Okay, this means that, wait, let's go back. So this is what we will focus on, content or lexical words. So going back, so this means that we will only focus on 4 out of these 8 English word classes. So you have 8 word classes, right? So we will only focus on nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs in this course. Okay. So we will explore these 4 word classes in the next lesson. That is all for now. See you all in the next session. Thank you.